Hello, good morning, good morning. Welcome. Sorry for my finger. It's about 10 o'clock, 10:03, I think to be exact, on this fine Thursday morning. I was going to do this while chopping vegetables because I need to meal prep, but I was like, let me sit down and give y'all my undivided attention. Give myself my undivided attention because I don't want to be on this live chopping my finger off trying to chop up these mushrooms or these peppers or the onions or whatever it is that I'm about to put in this fried rice. But I wanted to talk about a few things. One, because the collective culture right now is centered around a couple of the topics as it relates to love and vulnerabilities and taking risks and letting yourself feel. And I have seen time in and time out and over again. It's a repetitive sentiment across my timeline of people who are talking about hurting, dealing with your hurts, feeling love, how we treat others based on our own trauma and our issues, not knowing how to love, not knowing what love is, not wanting to be vulnerable, not wanting to trust people with our vulnerabilities, and all that fine art and jazz. So kind of wanted to talk about that for a minute or two. It's going to be a short live, give y'all some encouragement, give you some challenge, because why else would I get on a live and talk if I'm not challenging you to do something? Challenging myself to do something. So that's why it's called the vulnerabilities, love, the gamble, the risk, and letting yourself feel. And so I'm going to work backwards because I say this all the time when I'm training new staff, because we deal with other people. So we deal in human services, and that means we're engaging in relationship with other people. I tell them all the time, it is okay to allow yourself to feel, because you're going to hear stories, you're going to hear experiences, you're going to see people's heart. You may see some good and bad things from that. It's okay to let yourself feel. It is not okay to lead an action from your feelings. In other words, don't be in your feelings when you're making a decision, because sometimes in our feelings, and I would reckon to say most times, when we lead from our feelings are subject to change. You could be angry in this moment, and once your situation or your circumstance changes, you could then be happy. And so I encourage my staff not to make decisions based on how they feel, but give yourself room to feel, because your feelings matter. They're important. They're important to you, maybe not necessarily to anyone else. We'll get to that in a minute, because that's dealing with vulnerability. They're important to you because sometimes you need to sit in those feelings. Sometimes you need to process those feelings. Sometimes you need to unpack those feelings, because those feelings are propelling you to engage the day, to engage certain people, to respond how you respond. Sometimes if you even look at the culture of your posting on the internet, if you really do some introspective work, you'll find out that a lot of times what you posted was based on how you felt. And that's not a terribly bad thing. But if you find yourself responding solely out of your feelings, not necessarily out of fact or functionality or having a conversation around how you feel, you might find yourself doing things impulsively without giving yourself room to feel it, without giving yourself room to unpack it, without giving yourself room to come up with a good grand scheme of solutions, opposed to just saying, oh, this is how I feel, so this is what I'm going to do, because feelings are subject to change. And it's important to know that feelings are temporary. Seasons of life are temporary. Nothing is going to last forever. Trouble doesn't last always. Happiness is fleeting. Happiness is an inside job. Anger, it happens, and there's nothing wrong with anger. But it also dissipates. It comes and goes. Because some people find themselves in a perpetual state of being angry because they haven't checked the first thing that made them angry. So there's nothing wrong with letting yourself feel. It's then sitting in those feelings, addressing those feelings. Those feelings become urges. It's then unpacking those urges and allowing yourself room to be okay with the way you felt, but not necessarily acting out of those feelings. So that's a whole nother different exegesis, if you will, of feelings, because we could talk about feelings all day, and you hear people say, oh, why are you in your feelings? Or oh, you don't feel anything at all, are you even human? Like, people respond to things differently. Some people go within when things happen to them, or when they do things for themselves, or when they see things that they don't like, or when they see things that they enjoy. Some people go inwardly. A lot of us go outwardly. And so it shows up in what you post. It shows up in memes that you post. It shows up in conversations that you have. And then we are energy. And so our collective energy sometimes look reflective of that, because a lot of us are posting what we feel outwardly. So I won't say don't do that, but sit in it sometimes. Sit in it long enough to say, is this helpful for someone else? Is this necessary for where I'm trying to be today? The space and energy I want to set forth, the conversations that I'm going to have, the work that I'm going to put out. Is this feeling, is this energy helpful? Is it useful? Is it going to propel me into the next phase or functionality of the day? Because this is the only day you have. So everything that you put forth in it should make sense for that day. And unspent or wasted energy, or even just spending yourself without actually putting out anything, than just feelings, doesn't really do much for you in the long run. And so I said I was working backwards. So let's talk about the gamble and the risk. I guess I should probably skip those two and go straight to vulnerabilities, because then those lead up to the gamble and the risk. A lot of times when we engage in new relationships, again, platonic, romantic, or otherwise, and I always say that because everyone isn't engaging in romantic relationships, and that's okay, but they're still engaging in some form of a relationship. You have to understand that you being yourself, authentic, transparent, showing up who you are, not surface level, truly being who you want to be, comes with a risk. It's a gamble, because there are vulnerabilities within that. You don't know if the person receiving who you are is going to take that for granted, is going to trample over that, is going to use it against you. But you also don't know if that person is going to appreciate it and safeguard it and keep it and honor it and love you for it. And so it's a gamble. It's a risk. And you have to decide if you're going to take it. And if you take it, you have to be willing to be all in. And I say this all the time about being all in, because that's just so important. If you're going to show up as yourself, why wouldn't you want to be all in? Hey, Rye. I don't think it's bad to put your eggs in one basket. I think we have so much antiquated lessons of learning and experience and environmental woes because of what our parents and their parents and their friends and their friends' parents have gone through. And so you get all these lessons, these old wives' tales, these just crazy thoughts. And so I always was taught not to put all my eggs in one basket. But if you're leading from a place of love, and you're leading from a place of excellence, and you're leading from a place of authenticity, why wouldn't you be all in? Why wouldn't you give it all you got? Why wouldn't you, if that's who you are, if that's what flows from your reservoir, why wouldn't you lead from that? Why wouldn't you show up as that? And that essentially is putting all your eggs in one basket. That's putting it in yourself, showing up as you. And so that appears in relationships, that appears in your vulnerabilities. What's important to understand is the discernment of the observation of who you're engaging, who you're entertaining. You don't have to immediately lay all your eggs on the table upon saying, hi, my name is Shannon. How are you doing? And here is all my eggs. No, that's not what I'm saying. And that's not what I do. What I'm saying is once you have decided that this person, this job, this environment, this experience, this expectation is worth the investment of you, show up. Show up in your authenticity, show up in your excitement, show up in your vulnerability, show up in your fear, show up in your hesitancy, show up in your misunderstandings, because you know what? Humility and being humble and being authentic and being transparent is respectful. A lot of people will tell you, oh, that's weakness and you shouldn't do that because there's so many people praying on that. But I would love to engage in people who are being just that, authentic, being vulnerable, being transparent, being authentic, being themselves, because there's a lot of pretentiousness. There's a lot of people showing up as their representatives and not showing up as their true selves, especially as it relates to things like mental health, childhood trauma, adult trauma, relationship woes, things that have gone awry, failed work experiences. We have a lot of things that have gone seemingly wrong in our lives. But instead of focusing on the wrong things, we should be focusing on the things that are right. I woke up with a reasonable portion of health and strength. I am clothed in my right mind. I can articulate my needs and my desires and my wants. I can have, the day to go and do and be. I can create. I can envision. I can do a myriad of things. And so with that knowledge, with that understanding, changing the perspective of, it allows me to walk in a newfound appreciation for what's yet to come. So I'm not leading with a place of, oh, I'm not doing so well, or I just lost my job, or my marriage has failed, or my children are running ragged. It is truly perspective. If you change your mind about how you feel about things, you can pretty much change the trajectory of where you're going and how you engage people and how you work and your methodology. And I think it's awesome to understand that sometimes we have to be willing to change our methodology. We can't lead from a half full, a half empty. The glass, whether it's half full or half empty, can it be poured into? Does it have holes in it? Do you need to go find a new glass? If you have holes in it, do you need to heal that? And I'm using a glass in an analogy of ourselves, because I talk a lot about healing ourselves whole and doing our light work and making sure that we are who we want in any type of relationship. Because if you are seeking a whole person, are you a whole person? If you are seeking a healed person, are you a healed person? If you're seeking an authentic person, are you yourself an authentic person? And I'm not saying you have to tit for tat and you have to match everything that person is. We're not necessarily matching energies, but we are attracting them. And so sometimes you have to look at the fact that you're not attracting what you want, you're attracting who you are. And I said on another live that light can attract both light and darkness. So it's not like you don't have the ability to attract more than what you want and more than who you are. But a lot of times people will say, well, I keep meeting the same people, or, I've dated so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, and they're all alike. Is it possible that your energy is attracting things that you don't necessarily want to put off? Is it that your persona or your projection of self, how are you presenting? Even as simple as what you look like, whether you greet people with a smile or kindness of eyes. I mean, there are so many different things that we do just with our body language and the engagement of. You could walk in the room and you could be the CEO of a company, but if you walk in with a scowl on your face and an air of entitlement, people are going to attract to you, but they're not going to be for the right reasons. People are going to repel from you for the obvious reasons of how you present. But if you're not going to be authentic in your approach consistently, you could be a jerk. And I'm honest, if that's who you are and that's consistently who you are, people can appreciate that. They're like, oh, I know so-and-so is a jerk, so I'm not expecting much from them. We get that. We know there are people that exist like that. But if you desire certain things, kindness, honesty, the ability to communicate effectively and comprehend and apply things to your life, if you're looking for that in relationship, are you those things? Are you giving of yourself in that manner? Are you showing up for yourself that way? Because it's one thing to be vulnerable with other people, but it starts with being vulnerable with yourself. Hey boo, hi Tiff. I gotta talk to you, so I'll call you after this live is over. Or if you want to join this live, you're free to do that too. But I think, and it breaks my heart because I've been coined my whole life, hopeful, romantic, and I don't necessarily think it's that. I think I do believe in love, and I believe in not necessarily the fairy tale of the happily ever after, but the concept that you can be happy. You can meet somebody else who believes in happy, and y'all can do that thing happily ever after. I believe happiness is a state of mind, and you have to choose that. It's a choice. And if you choose that every day with the person that you want to do life with, that's okay. And I believe that can be afforded to you. I think we tell people what they can't have instead of watching people show up and do it. You can absolutely have that happily ever after. It looks different for every individual. It doesn't look the same for every couple. It doesn't look the same for every relationship. Everybody doesn't want the same things, and that's okay. But I believe at the base of all of that, at the foundation of all of that, I believe that people want to be loved. People want to be valued. People want to be heard. People want to be cared for. People want to be respected. People want to be believed. And so when you lead from a place of your reservoir, your truth, your understanding, your knowledge of your own individual experiences, and you join forces with someone collectively, you engage them in a manner where we're going to do this project together, or we're going to do this work experience together, or we're going to build a friendship together, or we're going to build a marriage together. You take me as I am, but I'm open to growing and evolving. And if I have not checked everything in my past experience of scarred toolboxes, I'm open to healing that. And I know that in the place of our understanding of each other, there will be no judgment. There will be a true safe space to unpack, to heal, to get the necessary antidote that I need so that I can experience the resounding of the love that you say you have for me. I think when we say we're vulnerable, we don't really want to be vulnerable with people because we don't truly trust them with our vulnerabilities. That saddens me because we say we have friends, we say we love people, we say we care about people, but do we? When you really stop and acknowledge people and you say, how are you doing today? And they look at you and they say the pit-pat answer, I'm okay, but you know good and well they're not. Do we dig or do we probe further? Do we say, hey, what's really going on, friends? Or what's really going on, my love? Or what's really going on? Because we need to unpack these things if you want to. I'm here for you. I'm here to let you talk, to vent, to articulate, to be frustrated, to cry, to lament. Those are vulnerabilities. And we're in a time such as now where vulnerabilities can't be trampled upon. They can't be made fun of. They can't be pushed to the side or turned into a meme or made jokingly or dismissed if you say you care about somebody, or you say you love someone, or you say this is a relationship that I love fostering and developing and growing, because we're all human. We have frailties as human, and it's easy to be vulnerable in places where we feel loved and valued and safe. And so that's why I always say you have to start with yourself. Do you feel safe amongst yourself? And if you don't, get around somebody you feel safe with so you can start unpacking those things. And if you don't know what love is, start looking at things that make you feel good. And not good to the sense of, oh, I ate a taco that makes me feel good. Because I don't want you to be leading from a false sense of love. I don't want you to be, you make love tacos, but do you really? Like, do you love them when you can't have them? Do you love them when they don't taste good? Do you love them when they fall apart? Because, and I'm using tacos example because I'm always talking about tacos. But that's the same thing with people. Do you love them when you can't have them? Do you love them when they're falling apart? Do you love them when they're not good to you? Because love has to be something that doesn't require anything in return. If you say you truly love somebody, if you say you truly are there for somebody, then be there. But if you're not there for yourself, again, pouring from a cup that you don't have anything in, what does your reservoir look like? And if you can pour from that and continue to pour from that into other people and find that in those relationships, that ebb and flow, that give and take, them pouring back into you, then you'll find yourself more likely to want to engage in more relationships where people are authentic and people are transparent and you won't mind being vulnerable. The pandemic don't care. The administration don't care. But you do. And so you have to lead from that place of caring about yourself, caring about other people, about what it looks like when you're vulnerable, when you're in a headspace. Because I have seen timeline in and timeline out, people being depressed, people having anxiety, people not knowing if they're coming or going, whether or not they're going to have food on their table, if, being lonely. Those things are real. But they didn't just start because of the pandemic. They didn't just start because of the administration. They may have been more heightened. They may have been more pronounced. But a lot of these things were already pre-existing conditions before any of this came into place. And so as someone who cares about individuals or someone who sees someone that they love and value, dealing with your own vulnerabilities, dealing with your own experiences, dealing with your own wholeness and healing, why wouldn't we want to lead from that? I may not understand fully what you're going through, but I know what it's like to be hurting. And I know what it's like to be broken. And I know what it's like to feel like people don't care about how you feel, or they don't understand, or they're going to judge you, or they're going to think you're crazy. But I'm here to listen. I'm here to learn. I'm here to love. And we're not trying to show people how to love them. We're trying to have people show us how they need to be loved. And that requires us to be humble and vulnerable, because how you are used to loving somebody may not be how that person needs to be loved right now. May not be how they expect to receive love. It might be a reality that you may learn together that they don't know what love is. And if you're willing to be there for them, then you may walk them down that journey of experiencing and understanding what love looks like and how love shows up in their life by showing up in their life. It really is that simple. Somebody said love is complicated. It's not. We are. Love is complex. It's not. We are. Love is difficult. It's not. We are. We put so many conditions on love. We expect, misplacing those expectations on what love should look like instead of just showing up as love. Try that. Wear it as a second skin. Be love. Personify love. In your speech, in your actions, in your vulnerability, in your conversation, in your deeds, in your work ethic, in your relationships, in your friendships, in your family, in your love relationships, show up as love. That may require you to be quiet. That may require you not to prove that you're right all the time. That may require you not to be petty or sarcastic, that may require you to obtain a poker face, because some of us lead with how we feel based on what our faces look like. And people know us well enough to say, I'm gonna stop talking to you because you need to fix your face. Sometimes love requires us to present in manners that may be slightly uncomfortable to us, but may mean the world to the person who we're presenting to. Because love is a gift. It gives. And if you're giving it to somebody, you're giving it to them the way they want to receive it. You're giving it to them in a way that they have need. You're giving it to them without expectation and exception. So yeah, vulnerabilities can be challenging because it requires you to dig deep within yourself, to be honest about your own ish. And we all have it. Even if it's minuscule, we all have something. We all have a bag that we've been carrying, whether it has one thing in it or 100. And when we get in a relationship, a friendship, a job, a situation, whatever it is, where there's somebody who could possibly open that bag and look in, are they going to be okay with that vulnerability? We wonder. Are they going to run in the other direction? We wonder. Are they going to tell everyone else? We wonder. Are they going to judge me? Are they going to look at me differently? Are they not going to like me anymore? Just be yourself. Be your authentic, transparent, whole, healed self. Your vibe will attract your tribe. But it starts with us. Those vulnerabilities, the love, the gamble, the risk, letting ourselves feel, it all starts with us. We have to do that work. Because once we've done that work, I'm telling you, the right people show up. And they stay because they believe in you. You're not a liability, you're an investment. You're an asset. You bring value to their life. And they love that about you. And it doesn't even have to require you to spend anything monetarily. It's just who you are, your character, your experience, your sage words, your laughter, your light, your energy brings value to them. And they want to be around you, and they want to spend time with you, and they want to get to know you on a deeper, more intimate level. That's why I said relationships don't have to be romantic for you to be intimate and deep with each other. Because intimacy and deepness sometimes just requires another layer of vulnerabilities to be unpacked. Conversations to be had. Disagreements to be settled. Apologies to be given. A different perspective to be received. Those things are love. Love isn't just trips to Bora Bora and designer handbags. Love isn't Netflix and chill. Love is seeing someone for who they are and still showing up for them. Now, let's not confuse that with being a doormat, being used. But when you do from your well, from who you are, you'll start to see that the people who need to be in your life will be there. You'll start to fine tune the relationships you once thought were important. You'll start defining or redefining what love truly looks like when it shows up in your life. You'll look at the dark places you were in, or you'll look at the highlights and even the lowlights of your life where people showed up for you. And again, I said it has nothing to do with money. Although money helps, sometimes you'll need it. But people just showing up for you, checking on you, seeing how you're doing, asking you if you need anything, asking you what's up, and really meaning it when you start talking. Not that pit-pat answer, oh, I'm okay. No, are you really? And then you giving an answer from a place of vulnerability, because most people don't want to hear it anyway. But knowing this person, this moment, I feel safe. I feel heard. I feel valued. I feel loved. And I'm going to trust that. And I'm going to acknowledge that they're here for me in a way that I need someone to be here for me. So yeah, I encourage everyone to really look at your own vulnerabilities. Look at your own love, your language of love, your showing up as love, and what that looks like. Take note. I started journaling this year. I hate journaling, but I have to start asking myself deeper questions. Shannon, you say you want these things. Are you these things? You say this is what love should look like. Is that what you look like? Because I don't want to ever ask someone to do something that I myself am not doing. Of course, I realize people have other gifts that I may not have, and that's totally different. But the character of, the foundation of, the sole purpose of, and the light of who I am. If I'm asking other people to be that, am I that? Because again, you don't attract what you want. You attract who you are. So we still have work to do based on what I see in my timeline. I don't think people are being totally pretentious. And although people would say this ain't about me, I'm not talking about myself, I just saw this and I thought it was good to post. I think there are a lot of hurting people. I think there are a lot of people who are vulnerable, but they have nowhere to be vulnerable. They have nowhere to place their vulnerabilities. They don't have safe places. They don't have safe spaces. They don't have safe people in their lives that they can share these things with. And I think that once we understand who is light and who is love and show up as those things, show up as light workers, show up as love, and show up exceptionally as those things, the people who need us will see us, and they can receive that safe space so they can have these conversations. But if you're going to be love and you're going to be light, you have to be open to having these conversations with people. You have to be open to allowing people to be authentic in themselves enough to unpack with you. Take care of yourself if this is what you're going to do, because it's going to be necessary for you to replenish time in and time out. But we're in a world of hurting people. We're in a world of depressed people. We're in a world of depleted people, dry bones all over this world right now who need light and love to just encompass them and overwhelm them and flood them. And that looks different. Some people may just need you to check in with them via text. Some people may need you to drop, a card in the mail. Some people may need you to send them a prayer or a thought or a picture or a meme or a song, or just say, hey, if you need me, here's my number, reach out. It looks different for every single person. But if you're going to do the work, be the love, be the light, you have to be open for how people want to receive it. You have to be willing to be flexible in the opportunities that will present themselves. But you also have to exercise some discernment, because everybody who comes and says they need this doesn't necessarily need it for the goodness that you offer. They may just want to drain you or use you. But even in those experiences, because we've all had bad experiences with people, romantic, platonic, or otherwise, still give love another chance. Try love one more time, every single time. Not because they're love, but because you're love. Be the light one more time, every single time. Not because they're light, but because you're light. Your vulnerabilities, your love, the gamble and the risk of it all. They deserve to be broadcasted. They deserve to be put out into the world, to the universe, so that other people can come alongside and say, how can I be in supportive of what you're doing? Or I love the vibe that you're giving out, or I love the authenticity of this conversation, because people aren't saying this enough. People aren't honest about this enough. People aren't willing to discuss this enough. People aren't willing to sit and be still long enough so that I can tell them I'm falling apart, or that I'm broken, or that I'm lonely, or that I'm hurting, or whatever the case may be. Or even to the opposite of that, that I'm in a good place, that I'm really happy, that I'm trying a new thing. You know, people don't just have sadness in their lives. People want to share their goodness and their joy and their beauty. So I think I'm rambling now. But I think that's it. I just felt so pressed, and I was going to do this while chopping up my vegetables, but I was like, I can't multitask about this topic because it's just so important that we start building better relationships. The time is now. Well, while the world is falling apart, it is a perfect time to build. It is a perfect time to put back together. It is the perfect time to create. It is the perfect time to reinvent. It is a perfect time to be light. And it is a perfect time to be love. And to be loved. And to show up as love. And to redefine in the lives of those who are lost and looking. And even those who are lurking. Because I'm not saying you're going to turn everyone over to the side of light and love. But at the end of the day, you being that authentically will inspire other people to look at their own selves. Or they'll flee. Because sometimes that energy is too overwhelming for the wrong people. So be blessed, little babies. I'm going to check in with y'all on Sunday. I might actually check in with y'all tonight because I work overnight. But I just couldn't sit on this thought. I've seen way too much on my timeline. And to all of the hurting people, to all of the depressed people, to all of the broken people, you don't have to look at any of my lives to go back and get this information. If you are watching this one, if someone's sharing this video, know that you have work to do. It's not going to be easy. But you can do it. There are people who are rooting for you, who are expecting you to show up authentically, to tell your story, to unfold and unpack, to experience a new version of life that you've never seen before, to allow people to be safe spaces for you, to be a safe space for other people. So we are challenging ourselves, we're challenging you, we're challenging each other. Reevaluate who you are. Reevaluate how you're showing up. Reevaluate who you choose to be vulnerable with and how you allow people to expose you to their vulnerabilities. Be love. Be light. Know there's a gamble and a risk in all of it. And it's okay to feel. Just don't lead from a place of your feelings. Y'all have a great day. I'll be back on here later with pictures because, like I said, I'm about to chop up my food and meal prep for dinner tonight. So I love you all. Have a good day. Hug yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to each other. And remember, do the work. Love without delay. All right. Have a good one. Bye.